All right, we're back. This is part 2 of the show with no name. That's Tim Benker and JohnDaCosse, and I'm Steve Cochran. What were we talking about the last time we did this?
We got through the COVID.
Part 2.
Right. High quality
our theme song, Steve. We got through the COVID with the show with no name.
Oh, look at that. All right, so we're talking about the trauma of childhood because in the middle of this, we've had a lot of time to think.
Right.
How about sports trauma?
All right.
You want me to start? I got one for you.
Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead, Steve. I'll go next.
My cousins and I, we would play in the summertime. We play baseball from the minute breakfast ended to the moment the sun went down and we had to go home to get dinner. We might run inside to get a hot dog. How many times can I do that callback? Get a hot dog in the middle of the day. But we just play baseball nonstop. So at one point, we get old enough where we're not just playing the way we used to. We play medium pitch, not fast pitch, not slow pitch, medium pitch. Nobody's got catcher's gear, none of that. So my cousins are pretty good athletes, and they were when they were 12. And my cousin Kurt hits a line drive, and it hits me right in the nuts. I mean, square, like bingo, like military tracking, targeting. We have the target locked in, bang. So again, I'm 12. I go down because that's what happens. And then I sort of stood up and half crawled. And for some reason, instead of going to the house to try to get some sort of, first aid of some kind, or just waiting it out, as you fellas know, that's what happens too. You got to wait it out.
Yes.
I went over to this kind of hedgerow sort of thing because I wanted to check and see if everything was still there. And to this day, my cousins laugh about this, and so do I, because I don't know why. Maybe it was the pain. I said, does anyone have any leaves? The international healing power of leaves.
Well,
all that story, 100% true.
I'm sure all the blood was in the area to try and heal it. That's why you couldn't think straight.
Well, the interesting thing is when I did check it out, it looked like a Vermont forest in the fall. Every different color you could possibly imagine.
All the tourists looking at it was probably something to see.
And it worked like a charm after that. So I was lucky until I was 24, and then it quit working. I don't know what happened.
Yes.
So.
Right. Well, mine is a hockey because my father was able to get me equipment. Working for Wilson Sporting Goods, I had all the equipment. So we were playing hockey at my friend's house in the street. It was all perfect snow, and I've got all my equipment on. And I realize about halfway in the game that I need to use the facilities, and I need to use them pretty fast. And they remember.
And that's great because hockey equipment's super easy to get off.
Yes. And I remember Joey Tassi said, "Oh, you could just use our bathroom." No, I don't think that's a good call. I think I should just go home. I'll be right back. So picture me walking with full goalie pads on for about 4 blocks, which, by the way, slowed me up immensely.
And
I got a block from
clinching, right? Walk,
yes,
clinch,
yes.
Walk, clinch. Yeah.
And then I got a block from the house, and let's just say I lost total self-control. And the back of my pants matched the brown pads that I had on the front.
How old are you at this point?
32.
29?
32, 29. When
I was like 11. I was like 11.
11 years old. So right at the age where PTSD would really kick in.
Oh, yeah. And then I had to walk a block in my own
In your own filth.
Yes. And try to get in the house and clean up. But I did, and I went back and finished that game. And they made that into a movie.
Not the Mighty Ducks, the Mighty What the Hell Smells?
Yeah, right. It was, yeah. So.
Well, that's dramatic. What might have helped you at that point? Get some leaves. I'm just saying.
Yes. I know. I didn't even think about that. God, why didn't I think about that?
Tim?
What?
Sports trauma?
Yeah, the fact I didn't play organized sports. That was my trauma.
What are you, queer? That was a big 70s thing, kids.
Hey, be fair. I was a thespian.
So you didn't play Little League?
Yeah. Well, remember I told you I didn't earlier. I said that I didn't have sad stories. I have a couple sad stories. Well, there were 7 of us, and half of us went to Catholic grade school. And every time it was like sign up for Little League, the day always kind of moved. It was like supposed to be this Saturday, then it was next Saturday, and then when it got next Saturday, it was last Saturday. It
was over.
So, yeah. So yeah, that happened like 9 years in a row. I don't know how I fell for it every time, but yeah, But I can tell you about getting,
Cool. Did you ever play sports in school?
Oh yeah, we did. We did sport, a little bit of sports.
Can I interject here for Tim? Because I just to remind everybody very quickly, we used to, as comics, play basketball, and we played with Drew Carey and many other comics that came through. And I had never played basketball with Tim, and Tim showed up, and he took his first shot.
Ever? How's that?
I've never seen a ball hit a backboard that hard. Never seen a ball hit that hard. And we sat down and discussed the rules and how the game is played.
Wow.
I had a heavy shot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that is
also, we played baseball with Tim, fast pitch with comics. And when it came time for Tim to pitch, Tim had a pretty good arm. The problem is nobody knew where that ball was going.
That's right. I had good aim as well.
Yes.
So
there's traumatic for all of us.
Yeah. So
I think we've locked into something here. Trauma of our youth during a quarantine. All right, what about sibling trauma? As in something happened with one of your brothers or sisters and they caused it. Now, you might say in my case, my 2 sisters weren't around for the first 42 years.
Yes.
And that could certainly be considered traumatic, but, they're a part of my life now. Or I should say I'm a part of theirs since Mom dropped me at the curb and she kept them. Long story for those of you not familiar. But here's one. My brother Mickey, who you both know,
Yes.
thought it was hilarious to interrupt me when he knew I was concentrating on something. And with a head this size, when you're concentrating, you don't want to mess with it. So I'm trying to do my homework. And keep in mind, I've established how poor we were. So, I got a light gas lamp, if you will, in my bedroom.
Yes.
And there's a washer, like a nut and washer that have come off the lamp that are just sitting there. So Mickey comes in and he's bugging me, just won't leave me alone. I'm probably 11 or 12, so he's 15. So I finally, speaking of good aim, I take the washer and I whip it at him. It hits him right in this tooth, right here, and shatters it. I mean, he's bleeding before the washer hits the ground, and he's covering it up. And you have to have a brother and be a brother to know this. But this is what brothers do. He's covering up his mouth, the blood's coming here, and he turns around and he goes, "Your ass is in trouble." So there's a little sibling trauma. What do you guys do?
Yeah. Having 4 sisters and 2 brothers was trauma on a daily basis. So I was one of the younger ones, so I was kind of protected a little bit by Dad. So I not right away can I think of the trauma, but it'll show up.
John, let me ask you a question because Tim's not listening right now. What sort of soft-ass perfect childhood did this guy have? Right?
He was a thespian. Mine is actually, mine's a pretty good one. We would go to my grandmother's for Easter. They combined all of our birthdays together, and there was something else we would go, maybe it was Christmas, but each time we would go, my grandmother would give us an envelope and with a card, and we would open it up, and inside there was money. And my older sister would go, "Man, $20. This is awesome." And I never said anything. So this went 3 years. And then my mother, we were driving home and I was crying. And she goes, "What is your problem? Why, you don't think that's enough?" And I said, and I pulled out, and I had a $5 bill. and I couldn't understand why my sister would get $20 and I would get $5.
Sure.
And she never got $20. That was just her being mean to me. She got $5 just like I did.
You ended up getting upset and in trouble.
And in trouble. Yeah. And by the way, that the 3 times we went was 15. The 3 years I got $45. That all went to Mickey's tooth.
Right. It had to. I mean, that was a very
Steve,
bill.
You know what? I figured out why I didn't have too many traumas, because I did the trauma to everyone else. I think that's what it was. On my brother's
you want
wedding.
to confess?
Yeah. On my brother's wedding day, my brother was very, 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 very stern about everything going perfectly right. Black tuxedos, white shirt, cummerbund, and everything.
How old
Anyway,
are you at this point?
So I come down. I'm the best man. I come down with my tuxedo, and I had it pulled so that my arms were like sticking way out, and it was really short. And I had on a red bow tie and a red cummerbund, and I'm like, I'm ready. And yeah, he had a little fit.
Right, because well, it didn't fit. It was ill-fitting.
Exactly. And the red for the best man, because I wouldn't detract from the groom at all.
And how old were you?
I was 26, and then I kind of misplaced his envelope with all the money that he had to pay the various people.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Did you get invited to any other family gatherings at all?
Well, he did choke me in public, but yes, I did get invited to some of the things.
Tim, is that what's in this envelope?
Yes, from my brother.
All right. How crazy relative trauma? Now, I know this is a little unfair because you guys know I had kind of a dysfunctional youth.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start playing dysfunctional family tennis, you guys will be out 6-love.
Yeah.
But I got a couple of beauties. So I'll be the close. This crazy relatives. You got a crazy relative story?
John?
Tim? Yeah. Well, I have an Aunt Helen who this was in the 60s, so she wore, it's at the time when they wore makeup it was probably thicker than a manhole cover. Okay. And on top of that, she wore bright red lipstick. And to top it off, she would smoke Salem cigarettes. And you could tell when Aunt Helen was there because there were all these butts in the ashtray and they all had big red lipstick on it. So my mother didn't tell me this, but she gave my Aunt Helen a gift that she said I got for her. Well, I didn't even know what it was. You know how you get a gift for a kid, you're like, sure. Oh, John, that's from John.
Sure.
And well, apparently it was something that she really loved and just went nuts. And she picked me up and gave me this big hug and kiss. And my entire side of my face, with nobody told me, was full of makeup and lipstick. And we went into church. And I'm going up for communion, and half of my face, I look like Tommy Lee Jones in Batman. I was too faced.
Oh, it's a good look. Very good look. All right, I'll adjust here. I'll give you one that you'll find delicious and one that's terribly traumatic and will really kill the mood. Here's a delightful one. I'm 5, 6, 7 years old. Mickey is 3 years older than me. We're being babysat by the hot neighbor girl.
Nice.
And even though I'm 5, 6, 7 years old, I know she's hot because I'm a
right.
player. Yeah. So she decides she's going to tickle us, which, by the way, I've paid a lot of money for as an adult. I just want to say. So she decides she's going to tickle us. So we're running and running around her house, which seemed like a big house. Obviously wasn't. But, so picture this. Running and laughing as she's chasing me. I turned around just in time to run right into the door that was open in the bathroom. And much like my brother with the washer, bleeding immediately and broke my own. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Right. And here's the thing. And you got to remember, this is a different time. Parents didn't live for their kids, especially mine. And my parents got a call. They were out somewhere that I had broken my nose. And my father got on the phone and said, put some leaves on it. And I was just,
Well, mine was kind of from my childhood. There was a lot of us who were young at this family reunion in our, between 7 and 12 years old. And there were a lot of us cousins. And the one cousin, she was older, she was about 21. She's like, all right, we're going to play doctor and I'm going to be the nurse.
Oh, yeah.
Well, everything was above board until she had us all laid face down in the room, and she took a straight pin and proceeded to poke each of us in the ass with the straight. And it's so funny because as soon as you reacted to seeing what the other person was screaming about, you got it stuck.
Wow.
Yeah, and she got away with it.
Yeah, that's child abuse.
Holy cow.
I know.
Yeah.
She's
That's no
still
good.
walking around.
All right, here quickly. Here's the dramatic one, and this could have been an early reality show. I've got a crazy uncle named Dana. Uncle Dana's nuts. He's out of his mind. Turned 90 this week. Yesterday's mind.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
And he was just nuts. He was in the Korean War with my Uncle Ronnie. So it's Uncle Dana, Uncle Ronnie. They both served in the same general area in Korea. I think it was around where radar was. So they come back from the war and they're friends. I mean, they're related, but they stayed friendly and they stayed in touch. So fast forward, I'm 18 years old, and we have some relatives at our house on a Saturday night, and the kids are being told to shut up and get beer. And Uncle Dana comes in and says, says to me, don't tell your mother or father I've got a surprise. I'm going to go out to the car. I've got a surprise. Now, I knew him well enough to know he's got a surprise. There's going to be trouble. So everyone's there, including Uncle Ronnie, his friend Uncle Ronnie, and Uncle Ronnie's wife, Aunt Verla. So Verla and Ronnie, who've been married for a while and have 5 children, they're all there. Dana comes back in. His surprise was Ronnie's daughter that he didn't know he had and had never met.
Oh.
And was introduced to him at the party.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah. That's what I mean. You can't play dysfunctional tennis with me. You'll lose every time.
Holy cow. I've never heard that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Because, the thing is, you got to wonder, at what part of your head you go, well, this will be fine.
Yeah,
I'll be happy.
Right.
And I'll make it a surprise.
It's a Hallmark moment.
Oh, my
Holy
Lord.
mackerel. Wow.
All right, one more. First job trauma. Or second job trauma, but kid job trauma. You're
I worked at Jewel when I was 16, and I was a bagger first, like everybody else. But you got to work bottles, where you took all the bottles that people brought in and got their nickel back or whatever it was, and you had to separate the bottles, the Pepsis and the Cokes. Anyway, the best part was sometimes there would be rodents in the bottles. And Pepsi didn't want you sending them back to them with the rodents in the bottles, so you had to get the rodents out of the bottles.
I suppose if there was a ship, if there's a ship in the bottle, they would have been fine. But a rat, a mouse, suddenly it's trouble.
All right, and I'm trying to think if someone actually went to that amount of effort to put the mouse inside the bottle, but no, he got in there himself. Well, one time he also had to mop the floors in the Jewel, and one time an adult man couldn't hold it. I think he was playing hockey with John, and he left a doodle on the floor.
What, in the store?
Yes, and they're like, Tim, clean up in aisle 4.
No.
Yeah, and guess what? Tim's like, I'm not cleaning that up.
No.
And they're like, you're cleaning it. I'm not. So for about 20 minutes, I was fired until I said I was calling the union steward, and then I got my job back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a high level move at 16.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would. I've always been politically connected, so especially when it has to do with defecating in public. I am well connected.
Sure. John?
I worked it was a grocery store. I think it was called White Way. It's just a one-off store.
But just the clan shop there? Or
clan.
what?
We had. Well, you couldn't see when you couldn't bag anything because you had these big hats on. It was good. It was horrible. But yeah, and it was my first job. So I was 14, and they went ahead and I had to be 14 because I knew I wasn't 16. Anyways, I worked the whole week, and the last day that I was there, speaking of the bottles, I was goofing around and I tripped and backed into the whole wall of bottles, and they fell and splattered and cracked all over the place. I walked out of the back of Whiteway and never went back. They
you
still owe me money.
You took
They
out a
still
whole
owe me.
wall.
Yeah. You know, and they were big, Tim, weren't they? They were big wooden crates at that time.
Yes. So you have 4 of the
7 Up
Baytax.
and Sprite, yeah.
Yeah, and it
And
smelled great.
and I walked
Somebody-
right out. Nobody
Like
knew I
the
left.
Kool-Aid man's ass that you
Yes.
backed into this, right?
Yeah. So
Wow.
I could probably sue Whiteway today for a whole week's pay, probably about $7. But I never went back and got it. I was done.
Well, you got to remember, a third of that goes to the attorney. So
Yeah.
they're going to get $233.
Yeah, I probably won't even make.
So, yeah.
Unfortunately, that's more than I'm making now.
Yeah. Well, so getting along. All right, here's mine. I've been fired 10 times in show business. I was fired before that, at least a couple, one of which was at the local movie theater. So the mall, I grew up in upstate New York, a town called Ithaca, small town. We get a mall. Ooh, that's big. You get a mall. There's a mall now, 1974-ish, 75.
Yeah.
And the mall is there. Well, the mall's a movie theater. So my first job was caddy. My second job was something else. Oh, it was Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips.
Yeah.
Which I quit after 2 days because all the fish I made, I couldn't figure out a way to get the batter right. So every time I dropped a fillet in, I'd pull it out and it looked like it had a batter tumor. It'd be like exposed on one side and a big knob of batter on the other. So I walked out after 2 days, and some of the burns still haven't healed from the splashing of the hot grease. So then I got a job at the mall, at the movie theater. And this is when Animal House came out.
Mm-hmm.
So 77 probably.
Yeah.
And I got fired because I let in the entire football team. My buddies who I played football with, I let them all in free to go to Animal House. Now, having said that, I didn't know enough to call the union steward. And I had a couple of things I wanted to get off my chest, one of which was the assistant manager was gay and he hit on me regularly. And I mean, very blatantly. It's 1977. Not that it was okay then, but you got away with a lot more then if you were a person like that. And his name was Keith. The manager of the movie theater was named Ken. Ken smoked about a field of weed every single day. He was barely conscious. I'm 16 years old. This is pre-internet porn days because it's pre-internet. Every Friday and Saturday night, they'd show the nudie flicks.
Oh, yes.
Ken was never sober enough to go start the film. So at 16, I'd go up to start the flick and then come down and close the doors and pray to God I didn't hear anyone's belt being taken off at the time. So they fire me, and frankly, they should have fired me because the tickets were probably $2 at that point, and I let in 40 guys. That's a lot of money for a movie theater like that. But before they left, I decided something's got to give. So I grabbed the ladder and the sign letters that you could put on the sign, and I changed the movie sign from Animal House on the outside marquee, so you wouldn't see it right away, from Animal House to Keith, the assistant manager. The guy fired me. From Animal House, I changed it to Keith Sucks Ken, and rated R, and walked out. There you go. Yeah. So I had a problem with authority that goes back quite a ways.
That was amazing. That was awesome.
I don't know how we're doing on time, Tim. Are we okay?
We're doing. I don't know.
Okay, we'll get a warning from our friends at Zoom when we run out of time here.
That's right. It might just be like the end of Sopranos when we're done here tonight.
Yeah. All right.
We
What
got
else?
12 minutes or so.
Okay. What else? You guys got a topic?
Well, you mentioned how inexpensive the movies were. We were talking about how things are cheap now. How about back then? I know we had the Milford movie theater. Everything along Crawford or Pulaski Road, and its intersection, they always named something Crawford and Milwaukee. There was the Milford. And, they did that. There was the Belford Tap. It was at Belmont and Crawford. So anyway, the Milford was 60 cents when I was about 7 years old to go see a movie. And I think the first movie I saw there was What's Up, Doc? With Barbara. I love that movie.
You're younger than John and I. You must have been a little kid, 5, 6 years old.
Probably 8 or 10. 8 or 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was $2 by the time I was working there. I do remember, though, a kid movie story where my mom and dad, who should have been divorced right after the wedding reception, they didn't get along, and they ended up staying married 45 years. When my father passed. But at the movie theater one night, this is before the mall, the big mall, before the mall came in, the big mall.
Mm-hmm.
There was one movie theater, and they showed, oddly enough, one movie. It wasn't a multiplex; it was one screen. So my mother and father had a bad fight. My brother and I were little kids, and my mom just wanted to get away and not be thinking about things. So she wanted to take us to a movie. The only movie playing was the film version of Macbeth. So Mickey and I and my mom were sitting in Macbeth.
With Richard Roundtree.
Yes. And my mom didn't know that there was quite a bit of nudity in the movie. And the lasting memory I have is of me screaming, I want to stay. I want to stay. I like this movie.
Stevie, the only guy I know who the movie Macbeth is a lot more consoling and enjoyable than your regular life. That was amazing.
You know, as a kid, you're right.
Yeah,
it was a break. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
That's why Steve, all the time in the car, he'd say, out, you damn spot. He would just drive quickly and just out, you damn spot.
Yeah, the Shakespeare flashbacks are the most painful.
You know, it's funny you're talking about drive-thrus, but what a different time. So I'm probably 10, and we grew up near North Avenue, and they had they didn't name it as clever as yours. Ours was just called the North Avenue Drive-In.
Ah, yeah.
And well, they did the same thing. At midnight were X-rated films. So we
drive-in, couldn't you see him from the road?
I know. So it was like ridiculous. We thought it was manna from heaven. So my friend Doug Tremper, Kenny Moore, myself, Danny Thomas, all left our house.
You grew up with Danny Thomas?
Yeah.
Danny Thomas, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I never made room for him. Never made room for him. So we pretended like we went to bed, and we woke up at about 11 o'clock, and we snuck out of our homes. I'm 10 years old. And we walked 3 miles because we couldn't get our bikes out of the garage because it would make too much noise. So we walked and climbed trees and watched these X-rated movies and made it home probably about 3 a.m. And our parents were never the wiser. Could you imagine if my mom and dad woke up and I'm not there?
Yeah, but if they wake up and you're not there, what do? They go, he'll be back by sunrise, or is that my house?
I think my dad said he's probably watching X-Flix.
Yes. And your dad couldn't come because he couldn't climb a tree at that point?
Well, yeah. Well, wait a minute. And I have to. This is probably the biggest traumatic thing that ever happened to me, because my dad had all these baseball mitts. Again, working for Wilson, I gave a mitt to a kid, and out of our stash, our garage, and he gave me a shoebox filled with films. I don't have a projector. There was 16 millimeter.
Yeah.
Well, they're all stag films. And I'm like, what is this? And you can't, you're chewing this and I can't, this is stupid. This is dumb. I gave the box to a kid in the neighborhood who had a projector. And I just gave him to him. We skip about 2 weeks later. His mother calls my mother. There's this big meeting and my mother's furious. We come back. My dad, as he's coming home from work, my mother comes out of the house, gets him before he walks in the house, says, John was caught selling pornography to the neighborhood kids. That's a fact. And I sat there and go, holy mackerel.
Yeah, so
I don't even know what happened.
You're the local porn dealer, and they came from your father to begin with.
I know. So that will never leave me. And my dad was really cool about it. He got it. He actually got it. Thought my mom overreacted. So we watched the films together. That's a father and son moment.
Any adult sports trauma you'd like to throw in? Because I'll start you. 1987, I was working at a radio station in St. Louis called KWK. 87, you'll remember the St. Louis Cardinals were a big deal. I think they won the series, as a matter of fact, in 87. Or maybe the Twins did. I don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention. But this again is pre-sports talk, and I thought it'd be great on my show if I could go get some interviews from the guys on the team. So I get a press pass to go to the old Busch Stadium, and I go down, and I'm in the dugout. And I remember this like it was yesterday, and I had a chance to ask him about this a few years later. But you remember Jack Clark?
Yeah,
first baseman. Yeah. I'm setting up my giant tape recorder because tape recorders are about the size of a city block in 1987.
Yes, that's true.
And I'm setting up my giant tape recorder, and I don't have a producer with me. I don't have any people. And I'm waiting for the team to come out when I hear this clearing, the voice, throat clearing behind me. And I turn around and look up at Jack Clark, who was about 6'5", probably. 5 inches
big
taller.
guy.
I turn around and look up at him, and it's very sweet. I remember this like it was yesterday. Very welcoming, very decent of him when he said, "Hey, you want to get the fuck out of my way?" It was very, very nice the way he, considered my feelings as well. And then after the game, because I apparently like humiliation, I decided to go into the clubhouse. And to this day, this is 33 years later almost, I never went in another major league clubhouse because the first thing I saw when I walked in was famous Cardinals manager Whitey Herzog naked, walking around naked. And Whitey had the big belly, and did I mention he was naked? It wasn't.
Yes.
I walked in, I said, okay, turned around and walked out. Didn't talk to anybody.
And you realized then why they nicknamed him Whitey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Steve, in 1989, I worked at KOMP in Las Vegas, a radio station.
Sure.
I was part of the morning team, and the Las Vegas Stars were a baseball team. They played at the stadium there. I can't remember. They were an affiliate of the San Diego Padres. Well, it was KOMP night. I got to throw out the first pitch.
Okay.
So I go to the mound, and I'm wearing, of course, a silk shirt and sandals, dressed for sports. And
because sports.
Right. And Sandy Alomar was behind the plate. And I went to go throw out the first pitch. I threw a perfect strike. It wasn't traumatic. I'm just bragging because John said I wasn't sports-like. And that's
pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like the way you worked it in.
Yeah.
Except that Sandy Alomar was at third base.
Well done. Now, John,
That's
because your dad was a big shot at Wilson, I can't imagine you had any appreciation for all the cool stuff you got to do as a kid, right?
Actually, yeah, I mean, a little bit jaded, I admit. I was, but it's funny how I do remember what scared me the most. You're going back to your, into the locker rooms, but we would go to Rensselaer, Indiana. That's where the Bears trained every year for a long time. Gail Sayers and Dick Butkus, all of them. And, I was probably 8 years old, maybe 8 years old. And I was in those, locker rooms, whatever, as they were getting ready. Long story short, my dad could never understand why I didn't want to go in there. He just assumed it was because there were the language, and all the naked guys and the whole thing. And what he didn't know, and I didn't tell him until I was like 25. I was terrified to be in those rooms because do you remember the old, what do they call them? Whirlpools?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Big metal containers.
Yeah.
With the water bubbling.
Right. It was like an apple bobbing tub that you would get into.
I thought they were boiling themselves, and it freaked me out. I didn't know what, because my mother made pasta in a silver bowl, pot, and that's basically what they were getting in, and it freaked me out. I just thought these guys were boiling themselves.
Turns out they weren't. I mean, just to clear it up, they weren't actually doing it?
I don't know what we ate at the cafeteria, so I can't say for sure.
It was covered in jock gravy.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, by the way, was my rap
name. He played
name.
for the Bears. Jock Gravy played for the Bears, 69.
Jock gravy.
You spurred a memory, and this is an embarrassment that I'm happy to share with you. And I played sports. I played everything. And I'm 14. I'm sure I was playing freshman football. And the nearby big university was Cornell University. And one of our teachers was the head coach of the freshman team at Cornell. This is before freshmen could play up. Matter of fact, in the Ivy League, I don't know if they still can. But he said, hey, do you want to be the ball boy for Cornell? And I thought, well, how cool is this? So go to the game, and it went fine. It was rainy and it was cold. And at some point, I'm sure I said, get your own ball. I'm cold. But afterwards, I went in. You have to understand, I come from a family of addicts, okay? Let me preface that. So I go into the locker room, and they won, and everybody's hooting and hollering and stuff. And there on the wall is a dispenser of pills. And guys are going up, and they're getting pills. Kind of look like a hand sanitizer that we're all using now in a public place. And they're getting pills, and they're taking the pills. They're getting the pills, and they're taking the pills. I was mortified. I was like, these are speed amphetamines of, to get them out of salt tablets. Yeah, salt tablets. So, because it's pre-Gatorade. So I went to the coach and I said, hey, man, I don't know what's going on, but you need to know this. Like, he wouldn't have noticed. He wouldn't have noticed the narcotics dispensary on the wall of his own locker room. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Hey, Steve, we got about a minute left.
Well, listen, if you like what we're doing here, or you don't, we don't care, because we got a lot of time to kill. And we're just going to keep putting these videos up on Tim's YouTube channel and mine as well. And eventually John will give in and do one as well. But closing comments, boys, you got anything?
God bless.
Okay.
That's all.
And Carol's tugging her ear. Well, for all of you who are going to enjoy some hot dogs that you picked up at the Clan grocery store, thanks for watching. I'm Steve Cochran, JohnDaCosse, Tim Benker. Stay healthy.
Take care, Steve. Bye, John.